Welcome to Conversations with Asha and Steve, where communication matters. Join us as we discuss effective ways to communicate, bridge the gaps, and build long-lasting relationships within your business and life. Here are your hosts, Asha Prasad and Steve Harper.
Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Asha and Steve. I am Steve Harper, and with me as always is my amazing co-host, Dr. Asha Prasad. Asha, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Steve, how's it going over there?
It is going great. It is a good day. Anytime I get an opportunity to talk to you is a good day. Let's just be honest. And I'm super excited for today's episode. You know, we've been talking about this new series that we decided to start with, here at the beginning of this year. We're kind of pumped up and ready to go with it. But what is the series? And then we'll talk about the question we're going to put on the table.
Okay, so we started the series with our last episode. So if you have a chance, catch that one for sure.
Yep,
but the
definitely.
series is burning questions that every person needs to be asking.
Every person should be asking. Burning questions that every person should be asking. I mean, this is great. Last episode we did, like you just referenced, was how am I feeling right now, which, created a very interesting conversation, got some amazing feedback from some of our listeners about what that really how that sat with them, which was great. Today's question that we'll put on the table is, who are my champions? And this is kind of interesting because I think we could go a couple of different directions with this, but what does champion mean to you?
So champion means to me somebody that is supporting me, like really cheering me on.
I love that.
That's what I think about as far as champions go.
But there's actually kind of a question before this question, right?
There is a question before this question. So
this is like a twofer episode.
I know, right? Exactly. This is. Are you your own champion, first and foremost?
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's the question.
Yeah, I mean, how can you expect anybody else to support you and, want to be your champion if you can't be your champion, your own champion for yourself? I mean, that's important for you to be a, sort of your biggest cheerleader has got to come from within.
It has to come from within because, you know what, Steve, I think that a lot of times we spend a lot of time self-sabotaging and self-doubting and and just we get into this cycle and then we kind of tear ourselves down and then we think, okay, well, no one's supporting me. No one's believing in me. But you have to look in the mirror at this point and go, oh, okay, are you believing in yourself?
Yeah.
Right.
And when you say we, you're really just looking at me right now.
Well, okay. Realistically, we're all reflections of each other.
So... Oh, good. It's not just me. Good. I'm just making sure. I was like, man, I'm such a loser. Oh my God.
But I mean, what does champion mean to you, Steve? I mean, how do you experience this? What happens whenever you ask yourself that question? And I know you've asked yourself this question several times.
Yeah, I think it's an important question, especially when you reflect on am I being my own champion, right? Am I putting out the true version of myself, the authentic version of myself? Because if I am and I'm doing the work, then other people will see how committed and focused I am in whatever capacity, whether that's career-wise or personal-wise, making a difference in the world-wise. It's important because that is what people, hitch their horse to, right? It's how they really, really get on your side and want to be there for you. So there, when you look at it as the two questions, am I doing things that I really would, feel good and confident that I'm doing to support myself? That means, am I, keeping the negative self-talk at bay? Am I doing, am I putting in the work and the best effort that I know that I'm capable of? And am I showing up and being my true and authentic self in every conversation or in every situation or, delivering the very best that I can possibly deliver, which I think is really key. And we all have, like you said, those moments of self-doubt, which is why when you start there and you bring people onto your side of the bench, right, that are like, I see the potential in you. I know what you're showing up every day trying to be the best possible version of yourself. And yeah, you're going to fall down from time to time. You're going to have those moments of self-doubt, but those champions are the ones that are going to actually be there to pick you up, cheer you on. They're going to dust you off when you've fallen down. When I think of the champion, the interesting thing, I love the Rocky movies, right? Sylvester Stallone, Rocky Balboa. But to me, Mickey was his champion.
Yeah.
Mickey really pushed him really hard, especially in those the first movie to determine how bad he wanted something, and he had to find
Exactly.
whether he wanted that or not, or whether he was just going to continue to bump around life and sort of be a punching bag for
Right.
everybody else, or if he was going to step up and embrace opportunity. So I think
Hmm.
when you look at the movie Rocky, he has to embrace that himself to say, yes, I'm capable. Yes, I'm
Exactly.
the opportunity is before me, and it's possible I can have success.
Right.
And then you got to have a guy in your corner or a gal in your corner that says, yes, I believe in you too, and let me show you how to get there, how
How
to
to get
take
there.
the right next steps. And so I always think about that movie a lot when things are
Hmm.
challenging and things are tough. You need people like Mickey in your corner that'll be there to
Yes.
be your champion, because you will go through those trials and tribulations that no doubt are difficult, but they become less difficult when you got people, in your corner cheering you on.
Yeah. No, definitely, and I think it also builds your resilience,
Yes.
whenever you have those people that cheer you on, that are always there and always supportive, and then you've got those people that will help you question yourself and question, like, where you are really, where you really are and how you're showing up in the world. Because, like, if you're trying to show up and you're trying to be successful and you're trying to really, do something, accomplish something, sometimes there has to be some friction there, and some people will challenge you, but those are your real champions as well.
Yeah.
Those are really your champions as well, and they can come in different forms. I think that's something that I have found, Steve. Sometimes I've thought that some people were not really supportive of me, but in fact they were challenging me so hard to just be the best version of myself.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Which is hard in the
it
moment, right? When you're getting
it
negative
is.
feedback, or you're not getting, somebody who's just going to give you the answer to the test, but they're nudging you
Exactly.
forward to encourage you to continue down the journey. And you're just looking for, God, I need a break, right? I need something to,
Right.
fall my way. And they're not helping. They've got the ability to help. They can, like, fund my startup, or they
They
can,
can do
give me the right
exactly.
piece of advice or guidance, or, the right introductions, but they're giving me just enough, and it feels like they're shortchanging you in the moment. But
Right.
really, at the end of the day, when you actually accomplish what they know you're capable of accomplishing,
Mhm.
you feel so much better about what you've done and where you've gone, and
You do,
the
and
the
it's
values there.
exactly. It's true. You know what, Steve? It's the value is there, and also they're teaching you life skills in that moment. They're
Yes.
teaching, and you may not see it at that time, and it can be really hard, but they're teaching you life skills that you're going to be, that you have
Yeah.
forever,
Yeah.
whatever it is that you're dealing with.
And the nice thing about, once you've established that identity with your champion, right? Once you've got
Right.
that, and you are proving that they are putting they're backing the right horse. They're putting their
Mhm.
emphasis in the. I just realized I've used a horse twice as an example, I think, in this episode.
I
But
don't know. You got something with horses today,
yeah, maybe. But at the end of the day, you've kind of proven that they've invested well with you.
right?
Then you have that street cred and that ability to reach out to them when things aren't going well, because they are the
Yes.
people that you can come back and go, gosh, I'm really struggling with my confidence, or I'm feeling, like I'm really at wits end on a particular situation. And those people
Yeah.
will step up tenfold to actually help you in that
Yes,
regard,
I
because
do.
you've already laid the groundwork, like, with a little bit of encouragement and the right kind of attention and focus, what you'll do with it. But when you're coming hat in hand and saying, look, I am up against this problem, or I've got this situation, I really
Mhm.
could use your guidance and advice, because you've already proven your worth, they are probably far more likely to step up and help
Right.
you in those moments. Have you seen that in your own life?
I have. I mean, I have, Steve. That has been really something that's been surprising, actually. Some of the people that have stepped up along the way that were what I thought they were like off in the distance,
Yep.
and all of a sudden, when I really, really needed their guidance or their help, they just were there,
Yeah.
without even me having to ask, without anything like that. So
And then
it's
how's
been
that feel, though? Just out of curiosity, because
it
I want our
feels
audience to recognize that.
It feels, at first it for me it was very humbling because it was just like,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh, you know what? I actually am not alone in this. I do have the support. I do have the people. It's just and I need to recognize that a little bit more." You know what I mean? Have more faith in that. And it really, I think whenever you have that experience, that's how you know who's in your court, on your
Yeah.
side, in your corner, by just that. So it's interesting. And Steve, one of the things I would like to just kind of bring up and ask you, like, because I know that you, with the work that you do with Ripple, is about connection and about community. How do you find that? Like, how do your like your how does your community feel that kind of championship within like all the things that you do?
Yeah, I mean, well, thank you. I think that's a great question. What one of the things that I tried to get everybody to realize is that, you can't just be a taker. You got to be a giver. And so one of the things that I always encourage people to do is, put the other person first, right? And
Hmm.
if you can establish a foothold to be someone else's champion, it becomes easier for them to want to be yours as well. But it
True.
is really about showing up and being authentic and figuring out ways that you can contribute and add value to other people. And that's the
Hmm.
whole underpinning of philosophy. Every action we take, big or small, makes an impact on another person. You
Right.
determine whether that's a positive or a negative. And through
Yep.
your actions and your efforts, you're really displaying on an everyday going basis, what kind of person you are. And the
Hmm.
champions will rise up because the world, it's amazing. When you are you look at everything through rose-colored glasses and kind of that
Hmm.
negative, Ned or Nancy attitude. It's amazing how
Right.
the world has no problem throwing more of that stuff in your path,
Oh
right?
yeah.
And it just will
Yeah.
stack up against it. What we've tried to encourage the Ripple community to do is look, don't do that. Don't make it easy for the negative to come. Make it hard for
Exactly.
the negative to come and make it easier for more of the good to come. The more positive
Mhm.
ripples that you can put out there, the more positive
Yeah.
ripples that come back to you. And part of that is through doing things differently, building your
Yep.
relationships on a different level, being upfront and honest with people. In fact, one of the things that I would tell, if this question was being posed in my Ripple, with my Ripple community is, how do you tell people that you need a champion? By saying you'll be their champion first, and that is
Right.
the key. And
Yep.
not being really quiet about the fact I'm looking for people that would be there and step up for me in a moment's notice if I really needed it, and I'm prepared to do the same for them. And that is to me the most ultimate, uh, the ultimate way to build your personal and your professional network, and
Yeah.
to have people that have your back continually. What I do with my own life is I want to have a whole line of Mickeys in my corner if I need it to,
Exactly.
slap me around, tell me to go out there and keep fighting, or good
Right.
job, this was your round, you got it.
Exactly.
Now go build on that success and go get more,
Yeah.
right? So that's kind of
Yeah.
how I approach it. But let me ask you the same question, because the approach that you take, the patients you work with, the coaching clients that you have, all
Hmm.
these people that are learning so much from you with all the great products that you have out there. How do you build that within your community?
I mean, one of the things, Steve, that I find is really, really important is that teaching people and really, guiding them on being able to see what their perspective is. Like the way what you focus on is what you're going to grow more of
Yep.
in your life.
Yep.
Okay. You're going to attract more attention. So you need to ask yourself, what is it that I want to focus on? Do I want to focus on the negative? Do I want to focus on the pain? Do I want to focus, or am I really committed to getting well, to feeling better, to having a positive mindset? Do I, and really looking from that perspective, so that way they can go out there and be the best version of themselves.
Yep.
And I think that that's a really important aspect to look at of how you're showing up in the world.
Yeah.
Really getting back to that of how you're showing up in the world, so that way you know that, what, I can be my own champion, and then I can also be a champion for all those people, and you will start to attract those people in your life. Now, I will say it doesn't mean that, like what you had said before, the takers won't necessarily go away. They'll still
Yeah.
be there. Some of them will be there, but you'll be able to decide at that point how far you go into that connection and relationship with them, how much effort you put in there, or whether you do or not. But at that point, it doesn't matter, because you're so strong and resilient of that, what you stand for, being the authentic self that you are, that's the way that you're going to show up in the world, and you're going to attract more of that. And
Yeah.
that's one of the things I encourage all my coaching clients, all my patients and everything about that importance of that. And that's why it's so important to, look inward to our own, perspective to
Yep.
make sure that we're in alignment with that.
I mean, that's an outstanding
Mhm.
perspective. I love that. And I do think that, at the end of the day, uh, there are two things that I always try and encourage people is, watch how people respond and react to what you do for them. When you are their champions,
Yes.
some people have been so cultured to be so, I call it walled off or, sort
Right.
of standoffish in terms of anything good that anybody else does because they're very
Yeah.
suspicious of it or they
Very
think there can't be good intention. And so you have to look at everything kind of with, a grain of salt. Some people will not be instantly smitten with, what you're doing or how
right.
you're doing for them, nor are they like even thinking about, well, what can I do to contribute? And one of the
Exactly.
ways that I've really gotten more comfortable to tell a lot of my coaching clients lately is, you have to cultivate that relationship. You have to say, look, I'm showing up to do this without any expectation of return. However, when I do look at how I want to build this relationship, I do believe it's a quid pro quo kind of opportunity, meaning I want to contribute something to your life. I'd like you to contribute something to mine. Now, mine's defined right now based on what I'm doing. Yours may
Hmm.
not be, and it may be something you discover. All I ask is you look for ways and stay cognizant of ways that you can bring some value to me, right? Maybe
Yeah.
that's the well-placed compliment. Maybe that's a word of encouragement. Maybe that's just showing up with a cup of coffee and
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, let's shoot the bull." That's an opportunity for them to ease into that. And the people that are truly authentically behind you and know and appreciate your approach to life, they will
Hmm.
start to respond in kind. It may be different than
Yeah.
you might expect, and it's not
Yep.
prescriptive, but at the end of the day, once you get a little bit of response, it's easy to get a lot of response later. And that's the
Yeah.
value, I think. And, for those that, just never do show up, you're going to figure that out pretty quickly as well. And then it's
Yes.
really up to the decision point in that moment whether you want to continue to contribute, to that person and be their champion if it's not coming back to you or not. And that's fine too.
Exactly.
And I think that's really key. And what I love about, your approach and in combination with what I'm doing is we're really teaching people how to behave and respond and react
Yeah.
with us and how to handle the development of real relationship with that person.
Yeah.
You could not see
Exactly.
being a champion long term for somebody that you didn't have a personal investment in some capacity. You see something that
Exactly.
they don't see in themselves, or you are there when you recognize everybody else in the meeting was super
Yeah.
negative, but they had a great idea. And so you pull them aside and say, look, keep contributing, keep adding those things. Cause I
Exactly.
recognize, the courage it takes to put it on the table. And
Right.
the response may not be exactly what you want, but keep doing it because you're going to build those inroads with these people to see what kind of contributor you are. There's many situations that we all face throughout the week, right? That we could
Exactly.
be someone else's champion in certain circumstances, whether it be somebody we know, someone we work with, or a complete stranger. And
Right.
there's probably a lot of people that are being our champions that we're not actually stopping and recognizing in the moment, which is why
Exactly.
we ask this question.
Exactly. No, that's very true. And I think being aware of that and any chance that you get, a kind word goes a long way,
Yeah, it
right?
does.
I mean, it really does. You can really make somebody's day. You
Yeah,
really, really can. Just and that in itself is such value. I mean, if we approach our life in every single moment that we can be aware of it, to be kind and to do something of value and be our true, essential, authentic self and put ourselves out there, we will get so much more coming back to us than you can even imagine.
you're right.
So I think it's really important. So I love this question, Steve, and I hope that our listeners out there will ask themselves this question and really kind of dive into it a little bit to find out, who their champions are and what does it really mean to them and how are they showing up in their life as a champion as well.
Absolutely. I agree
Yeah.
wholeheartedly. And before we end this episode, I have to acknowledge you as one of my champions, how much I appreciate and truly am grateful for not only the friendship and the business mentorship that you've provided, but the fact that you show up as your authentic self every time to every conversation. And whether we're recording or not, I want our audience to know that this is Asha at her heart of hearts. I mean, she is one of the most kind, gentle souls that you could ever possibly imagine. And having someone like that in my corner when I do come through these scenarios of, stress and moments of self-doubt, you've always picked me up. You've always encouraged me. And I greatly, greatly appreciate it, because when you have those people, you have to stop every once in a while and you have to say thank you, because they are so important to your life. And I'm so grateful that we get to do this show together, that this has brought us into a space where we get to speak on a routine, regular basis.
Right.
And I consider myself very blessed to have you in my life.
Thank you, Steve. I really appreciate that. And you have been and continue to be one of my biggest champions. You beat me up sometimes, but I need it. I need it.
I don't beat you up. I just come
on. Okay, not a lot, but no, but it really, I'm very, very, very grateful. Very, very grateful for you. So,
well, thank you. Well, listen, now the mutual admiration club, right? We can end this. Everybody gets that we like each other, because if you've watched or listened to this podcast for any length of time, how could we not? Geez,
exactly.
The chemistry we have is unparalleled. So, any of those big sponsors out there that just want to come in and sponsor this amazing, show, please, feel free to do so, because we're never gonna hate on each other. We're always gonna have amazing, positive things to say.
Exactly.
Just throwing it out there. We're looking for some corporate champions. That'd be great.
Yes.
Yes. But
we're open for new champions.
Yeah, we're open for new champions. But as we wrap up this episode, Asha, I'd be really curious, about what our audience's perspective is. Whether you're catching this on YouTube, Facebook, or you're hearing us on any of the podcast platforms. How can they, give us some of their input, where this show and this particular question landed for them, and then maybe even share, how they've been a champion for someone, or perhaps someone that's been a champion for them that they could, sort of publicly recognize in some capacity. How can they do that to get that conversation ball rolling and visibility with our other listeners and audience members?
Definitely, you can head over to our YouTube channel and drop a comment there, engage with us, let us know what's going on, answer this question for us, whatever it is. But go there, be sure to subscribe while you're there. Also, you can reach out to us on our website, conversationwithashaandsteve.com, or go to Facebook or Instagram and contact us there.
Excellent. Well, I am so grateful. We'll be back again with another episode of Conversations with Asha and Steve very soon. Another burning question, right? This burning questions every person should ask. That's our new series. This was episode 2. We've got several more coming. And, if you've got some questions that you think we should be talking about on this, for this series, we are all ears. So let us know. But we are so grateful. And Asha, we will see you again in the next episode.
Sounds great. Till next time.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us for today's episode of Conversations with Asha and Steve. We love to hear feedback and questions from our listeners. Please feel free to visit our Facebook page for more tips and information. You can also email us directly at info@ripplecentral.com for more information.